Good morning, viewers. I'm Jenna with Stahls TV, and welcome to Printing Home Decor and Other Non-Apparel Items with your heat press. For this class, we're going to be touching base on the versatility of a heat press and heat transfers, and also incorporating new sales opportunities outside of apparel items. So everything that we're going to be printing in this class is based on home decor and anything that's just really outside of the apparel box to bring you in new ideas to start incorporating into your business. And this class is all about getting really creative with different ideas, maybe some things that you aren't thinking about, that you aren't aware of being able to apply heat transfers to. So we're going to update you a little bit on some hard to print items that are actually going to be very easy to print with some of the techniques that we're using today, and how it is going to yield big profits using any equipment that you have at home. So we'll be touching base on cost to produce and profit for each item that we're printing today. So that's exciting. You guys have an idea of how much it's going to cost you to make these different items and how much you can profit from each one as well. We're going to be printing almost 10 different items today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. But instead of heading straight to the press, we're going to start here and print our first couple items with a home iron. So if you don't necessarily want to tie up your heat press with some of these crafty things, maybe you're printing shirts on the other press and you want to have the ability to do it without tying that up, you can always use a home iron. So this is one that was just picked up from a local Walmart or any other store. And I just want to point out which setting you want to keep it on. And you want to start at your synthetic fabric setting. So we're going to be applying this burlap canvas here. This was purchased from a local Hobby Lobby. And I want to point out, as many of you know, if you are familiar with some of the more crafty or crafts stuff, then you know that canvas has a big opening in the back. So what I did here, we need to have a nice firm pressure here to apply our transfer to. So because it has that opening and there is a hard border around the edge of this, every dimension, we need to put this heat printing pillow inside there to raise this area, because we want to have a really firm pressure with our iron so that our heat transfer is going to have a nice application. So all I did was stuck a heat printing pillow in there, taped the edges so that it was nice and secure in there and not falling out whenever I was moving it around. Okay? So as I mentioned, you want to have your settings on the synthetic fabric setting on your iron, but that's just where you want to start testing it out. So whenever I had my iron, I had it on synthetics. Now I've worked my way up all the way to the cotton linen setting, because I want to make sure I have enough heat for my heat transfer to apply. Now, keep in mind, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and shoot those in. I'll try to keep up with those on Facebook or go to webinar. So just shoot those in if you guys have any questions. I'm going to grab my craft paper here. This is going to be my cover sheet. I'm going to cover that just so that I'm not damaging my transfer at all. And I'm just going to start by taking my iron and pressing very firmly on one section of the transfer. So I'm starting on the edge over here, and I'm just going to press and hold for about 10 to 15 seconds. This is a fashion film transfer, so we want to make sure we're still getting that full application. And then I'm just going to work my way over to the center and then to the other side as well. I also want you guys to take this as one of like a key, like definitely take this whenever you are printing canvas, is that you want to make sure the dimensions of your design are going to be the same dimensions as the inside of the canvas. So we don't want our transfer to touch any of these hard edges of the canvas whenever we're doing this, because that's going to create an uneven pressure and our transfer is not going to apply correctly. So now all I'm doing is just going over this transfer again. making sure I have a nice adhesion there, and then I can go ahead and peel my carrier back hot. So you can see I have a little bit picking up there, but that's okay. I'm just going to place that back down where I need it to go. Put my carrier sheet back down as well. And I'm just going to go over that one spot again. Because I have my cover sheet, there's a chance I didn't notice that I didn't get down that far. So all I have to do is recover this with my cover sheet and apply this in that spot for 10 additional seconds. I'm going to make sure I have a nice firm pressure, using a lot of my upper weight to push down on this iron. So that time it's stuck, and I can go ahead and peel the rest of my carrier back. Now, just to be sure I have every edge of this design down, I'm going to recover with my cover sheet. And just as you would iron a piece of clothing, I'm just going to run over this with my iron. Still using a nice firm pressure. All right. And then we have our completed custom burlap canvas. Now let's take a look at how much it costs to produce this item. So you can see my item cost me $2.50. As I mentioned, this was a canvas that was picked up from a local craft store, such as a Hobby Lobby. And my fashion film transfer cost me 71 cents. Now my labor and overhead for me was 87 cents, but that can vary based on your business, or if you're at home and you're doing some crafting. This is all going to change based off of you solely. So for me, this is what my labor and overhead looks like, but that can vary based on your business. My total cost to produce was $4.08, and my selling price is $15. So we're looking at a profit of $10.92. So if you decide to sell something like this to friends or family, or maybe you're posting some of your creations on Facebook and someone really wants one, you have an idea of what you can sell it for, okay? All right, so we're going to move on to our next item. And this is a pin board. So you can see this would be very hard to print. There are a lot of hard items on the surface of this. And then we're also working with some ribbon that's here as well. We want to make sure we're not printing over that. And I wanted to keep my design or my personalization here decently large enough so that it's noticeable on such a large surface. So I didn't want to make it tiny enough just to fit down in this area. I wanted it to drop up. So what I did with this design, all I did in my artwork was typed in my initial, and then after I cut it out on my vinyl cutter, I took scissors and I just cut it right here and lined it up so that my ribbon is still exposed and my heat transfer vinyl is not overlapping that, because I still might want to put something there, such as a picture or something. All right, so I'm just going to take my iron, and the reason I'm using my iron is because I'm not going to have even pressure at the heat press. Could I lay this on my 16 by 20? Yes, but these buttons that are on here are going to keep my transfer from getting the direct heat that it needs to apply. So I'm going to take my craft paper here, and just as I did with the canvas, I'm going to keep my iron on that surface for about 10 to 15 seconds. And I'm just going in a circular motion because I know my iron, there's a chance that it's not hitting every spot. So with a firm pressure, I'm just going to be moving my iron around in that general area to make sure that the heat is working its way through the craft paper and to my transfer. Okay, and since I have my cover sheet, it's smart for me to double check that it's transferring, because I can't actually see where it's at based on where the cover sheet is. So I'm just going to pick this up a little bit just to make sure that everything transferred through. And it looks like it did, so I can go ahead and continue to peel the rest of the carrier back. Okay. So that transferred perfectly. Now I'm just going to cover with my cover sheet again. And as I did with the canvas there, I'm just going to take my iron and iron right over top of it using a firm pressure, just to make sure that all of those edges applied down. Okay, and you may be thinking that maybe it's not okay for me to do this because I don't know exactly what my pressure is whenever I'm using my iron. Since this is not an item that's going to be going through a wash cycle, like the washer and dryer, you're not going to have to worry about anything peeling off. So although we're not sure at what our accurate pressure was, that's okay. We're still going to, it's still going to apply and stay on there no matter what, because it's not going to be going through a wash cycle. Same thing with the canvas. Okay? All right. So we're done with our items that need to be ironed. And we're going to go head over to the heat press once I bring up the pricing and everything for this, and we'll start with some other items there. So for the personalized pin board, the item cost me $13.99. That was picked up from a local Hobby Lobby. You can find any style of pin boards at any different craft stores. Okay, my fashion film transfer, that was black fashion film. It was 25 cents, and my labor and overhead was $1.97. So you're seeing a pretty drastic change between the canvas labor and overhead and the pin board overhead, and that is because it costs more. Okay, so my item costs more, and you need to take that into account whenever you're doing your labor and overhead. Okay, so my total cost to produce was $16.21. My selling price is $30. So we're looking at a profit of $13.79. Okay. All right, so we're going to go head over to the press and begin pressing the rest of our items. All right, so I have my 16 by 20 loaded on here. I'm going to be heat printing this placemat. This placemat is made out of burlap, so that makes it perfect for heat applying a heat transfer on there. I'm going to be heat applying my fashion film. I'm just going to make sure that I have everything lined up there correctly. And I'm going to do a quick preheat because there's a chance that this placemat is going to go through the wash cycle. Things get messy at dinner and they have something splatter on it. It's definitely going to go through the wash cycle. So we want to make sure we're doing a preheat to release any moisture or wrinkles that could be in the fabric. I'm going to place my fashion film down here and grab my cover sheet. And I'm going to apply this for its recommended time and temperature. That's 300 degrees or 320 degrees for 15 to 20 seconds. Now, whenever you are choosing different items to heat press, you always want to choose an item with a fabric base. That's what is making all of these items so easy to print, okay? So whenever I peeled my carrier away, you could see some of this was picking up, and that's just the nature of pressing something that's a hard to print item, okay? So I'm very close to the seams down here, and that's causing me from getting an even pressure. So what I'm going to do is just cover this with a cover sheet. I'm going to increase my pressure a little more and apply it for an additional 5 seconds to make sure that gets tacked down. Okay, and now it's all tacked down, so we're good to go with this. All right, so that was a really quick and easy item to press. So let's go ahead and talk about the cost to produce for an item like this. So my placemat cost me $3.99. This was another nice Hobby Lobby purchase. My fashion film transfer cost me $1.01. and my labor and overhead cost me $1.03. So that leaves my cost to produce with $6.03, and my selling price is $12. So my profit is going to come in at $5.97. Now these are perfect for personalizing for moms with Mother's Day coming up. They always like to decorate, especially if it's a mom that loves to cook, or even personalizing for a newlywed. It also is wedding season, so you want to keep in mind of all the different items that we're pressing today, because they are lucrative to some of the seasons that are coming up. So you have weddings and Mother's Day. So this is another item that is popular for those, as well as the other two that we printed. And since we brought up weddings, I'm going to go ahead and show you a unique heat printing option for a gift or for a customer even that has a wedding coming up and would want you to personalize something like this for them. So what I have here is a signature frame. This was picked up from a Hobby Lobby as well. Any local craft store typically has these, such as a Michaels or Joann Fabrics. And I don't have to worry about having uneven pressure here, even though I have a bunch of open areas here. I'm going to be printing on the highest surface, so I don't need to worry about having a heat printing pill or anything, because nothing's going to keep me from having an even pressure here. So what I'm going to be applying is adhesive and foil. I'm going to start by centering up my design here. You can see I have personalized with the two future Aubrey and Ross that are getting married. And I'm just going to apply this for its recommended time and temperature. So I have at 300 degrees. This is a 5-second application for adhesive. I'm going to make it at a light pressure, so I'm going to decrease my pressure for the adhesive application. So my pressure is reading out at 3, so I know I'm at a very light pressure. All right, our adhesive is a hot peel, so you can go ahead and peel this carrier back. And I'm just going to take my foil and lay that down right on top. So I have my sheet here, laying that right over top of the adhesive. I'm going to grab my cover sheet, and we're going to apply that for its recommended application. So we're going to keep the temperature at 300 degrees, but we're going to increase our time to 10 seconds and also increase our pressure. So I want to be at a firm pressure here, so I did 2 twists up there to make sure I'm going to be nice and firm there for the foil to apply to the adhesive. So I'm going to let that cool a little bit, and one trick I usually do is remove it from the hot surface or platen here and place it on something cool. So I have my heat press cart down here. I'm just going to place it on this cold surface just to speed up the cool down process. And then I can go ahead and remove my foil. And when I remove this, you can see that it's stuck right to where my adhesive applied. Right. So that color is rose gold, and it shows up really nice on that black surface. You can see that in the rest of the areas, this is where you would get your signatures with a gold Sharpie or a white Sharpie. And it's something that every guest at a wedding can partake in and also see the work that you did for the groom and bride. Okay? All right, so let's talk about how much it costs to produce an item like this. So my frame from Hobby Lobby cost me $4.99. Now this will vary based on the size that you get. All right, so this was a 4x6, but they offer 8x10s and larger. So if there are a lot of guests, they want more room for signatures. So that price will vary based on the size that you want. My adhesive and foil cost me 19 cents, and my labor and overhead was $1.06. So my total cost to produce was $6.24, and my selling price is $15. So our price is, for profit, is $8.76, which is a really nice profit for something that is so easy to print. Okay? All right, so my next application is going to be a wristlet. And for this, I'm just going to go ahead and keep my 16 by 20 platen on here because I'm going to be using my heat printing pillow. I could load my 4x4 on here to print the center of this wristlet, but I wanted my design to be a little larger. It kind of exceeds the 4x4 dimension, so I'm just going to use this pillow so that these hard items on here, such as the metal zipper and the buckle over here for the wristlet, is going to be in the way, and I want to make sure that these items aren't going to keep me from getting an even pressure once again. That's what makes this a hard to print item. But with this accessory, the heat printing pillow, this is going to allow this to sink down in there and raise this up so that I have plenty of room to apply my transfer. Before I do this, I want to do a quick preheat. This is something that could be washed, and I also want to double check my pressure. Since I loaded in a pillow there, I know that that increased my pressure a little bit. And I want, for my fashion film application, to be medium. And I'm just going to place that down there, cover with my cover sheet, and apply it for its recommended time and temperature. Fashion film is a 15 to 20 second application, so I'm just going to increase my time there and apply that for its full time. Now we have Stahls offers a bunch of different heat printing pillows. So if you are printing larger items that are a little harder to print, they offer a bunch of different sizes, such as sleeve sizes, so a 6 by 20 or 11 by 15, making it very easy and versatile for different styles of items. Okay, so my fashion film's a hot peel, so I can go ahead and peel my carrier back, and my personalized wristlet is complete. I chose a monogram for this look because it's very popular. Monograms seem to be trending a lot in apparel decoration. I figured a wristlet is the perfect item to apply a monogram to. So let's talk about how much it costs to produce. My item cost me $2.99. This wristlet was picked up from a local craft store, and my fashion film transfer only cost me 9 cents. Okay, my labor and overhead was $1.06, and my cost to produce was $4.14. My selling price comes in at $14, so I'm looking at a profit of $9.86. This is perfect, again, as gifts or to sell to customers as an add-on. So if you're also selling other accessories, this would be the perfect add-on. And since we're talking about add-ons, I figure I'll show you a couple extra little accessories that you can pair together and package. So my next item is an ID badge. So you can see this is where you load in your ID. So this is a case for your ID badge. So you can load your ID right in there. I'm going to flip this over and personalize the front of this. So again, I'm going to keep this pillow here because I have these areas that I want to get out of the way to get a nice flat surface. And I'm cutting it pretty close on this design here. Looks like we're going to make it though. All right. And then we're just going to cover with our cover sheet as usual and apply for its full application. Again, this is fashion film, so we're going to apply it at 320 degrees for 15 to 20 seconds. This item was actually purchased from Wholesale Boutique. They have a bunch of different items like this that match so that you can pair items together for packaging. All right, so I personalized this ID badge with the name. And before we move on to the next item that we can package with this, let's go ahead and talk about how much it costs to produce. As you can see, it was a very easy application, so our profit down there is coming in at $11.83. That took no time to apply that, so you can see if you were creating these, it's not going to take a long time for you to produce this. My item was $5. Fashion film was 11 cents. Labor and overhead was $1.06, and my total cost to produce was $6.17. Selling price is $18 for an ID case that's personalized, and my profit was $11.83. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the next accessory that you can pair with that, and it's going to have this same pattern. So Wholesale Boutique offers a lot of different patterns in multiple items, so they're perfect for pairing together and selling as a package. Okay, so I'm just going to lay my koozie down on this. This is going to make it easy for me just to print this one, but if you're printing multiples at a time, you can always choose the option of printing with a koozie platen. So Hottronics created a platen where you can load a bunch of koozies on at once. Before I apply this, I want to test my pressure here and do a quick preheat because this is something that can be washed. All right, my pressure is good. So I'm just going to lay down my transfer, and I'm going to center it with the label here. So right now my design looks a little off-centered, but that's just because the seam is over a little more. Once I pull it over, it's going to be centered. So I'm going to center with my label up there, the Viv and Lou logo. And I'm just going to apply this for its full application. Again, that's fashion film, so 320 degrees for 15 to 20 seconds. So I can go ahead and remove my cover sheet. I'm going to pull my carrier back hot, and then I have a completed custom koozie summer 2017 that's going to pair perfectly with our ID case. So you can see you can offer these small items as items that they can purchase separately, but packaging them together makes it very nice for the customer to have more options and in turn buy more. Okay, so we'll go ahead and look at the cost to produce for the koozie so you have an idea of what it would look like to pair these together. The item from Wholesale Boutique again was $4.50. Our fashion film came in at only 8 cents. Labor and overhead was almost the same as the other. It's $1.01, so we're 5 cents shorter there. And our total cost to produce was $5.59. Okay, so our selling price for this individually is $10, but if you're pairing these together, it could be $20 for both or $25. Okay, and our profit's $4.41. All right, so we are almost to our last item. The next item is one of my favorites. It's a cosmetic bag. And we are going to go ahead and remove our 16 by 20 platen. And I'm gonna go ahead and load in my 6 by 10. I'm gonna load it in horizontally so that I can thread on my cosmetic bag and get some of the bulkiness of this bag out of the way. So you can see this opens up a little bit, about 2 inches. We want to get the back side of this out of the way so we're just printing the front of it and not having any hard surface under there, keeping us from having a flat surface. So I'm going to load this on there, and you can see my zipper isn't reaching all the way around. So what I'm going to do is stick my pillow in there. I'm going to make sure I'm in each corner since my design is rather large. Prints across the whole front of this. Okay, then I'm going to make sure I still have enough room for my zipper and seams up at the top to sink down in there. So you can see I have a nice surface here that's really raised up. and my transfer is just going to lay right down on there, and now I have full exposure from the top heating element to apply this. All right, so we're going to do a quick preheat. This is also going to allow us to test our pressure. Our pressure looks good. We're at a medium pressure there. Now I'm just going to lay my transfer down. Again, this is fashion film. So I'm going to apply this for 15 seconds at 320 degrees. Now, if you're printing an item that may have a plastic zipper or maybe some pleather or faux leather on it that you want to avoid melting underneath the high heat, you want to make sure that you use a flexible application pad. That's going to keep any hard to print items from melting whenever you are heat pressing them. So that would come in if my zipper was plastic and I wanted to avoid the risk of it melting and ruining the blank, okay? All right, so we have our completed cosmetic bag here. Just gonna go ahead and remove that from the platen and get rid of the pillow out of there. So we have our completed custom cosmetic bag. Now let's talk about how much it costs to produce. So my item from Wholesale Boutique was $6.50, and my fashion film cost me 33 cents, or 55 cents, sorry. And then we have our labor and overhead at $1.10. Cost to produce was $8.15, and my selling price is $25. Now, if you wanted to personalize this with a name, that's going to increase your selling price. So always keep in mind what you want to put on the bag, okay? So personalization, people are going to pay more to have their initial, monogram, or name on something. So your selling price can vary based on what you decide to heat apply to it. My profit was $16.85, okay? And last but not least, we're going to be heat applying a pillow, which is another home decor item. It's a throw pillow that a lot of people love to decorate with. And it was also purchased from Wholesale Boutique. All right, and I'm going to be applying fashion film and glitter flake to it. Before I do that, I'm going to switch out my platen to a 16 by 20. And since my pillow has some seams in there that are going to keep me from getting an even pressure, I'm going to load a 16 by 20 heat printing pillow in there. So what I want to do is avoid this seam here that's going to show up right here exactly where I'm going to be printing. And that's going to cause me from getting even pressure because that seam's going to pop up through. So what I'm going to do is just slide this pillow through there. And then that will keep that from happening. Okay, so this is nice and flat, nothing's popping through. All right, and then I have these hard seams that are also going to sink down into the pillow. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do a preheat. And since this is a pillow cover and not just, it doesn't have the pillow in it yet, it's definitely going to be easy to take this off of a pillow and throw it in the wash real quick. So this is something that's going to be washed. You want to do a preheat to release those moisture and wrinkles. And I'm doing a multimedia application. So I'm going to be applying my glitter flake first. And I'm just going to tack that for a few seconds. We recommend applying, it's coming off the carrier there. But what's nice about glitter flake, it has a nice tacky carrier, so if it starts to peel off, you can just stick it right back down and it will stay in place. All right, same here. All right, so I have that nice and centered. Gonna cover with my cover sheet. I'm just going to tack this for 5 seconds. I'm going to do this because it's going to speed up my production. And since I have another layer being laid in there, it's going to decrease the chance of it shrinking. So whenever heat transfer vinyl is exposed to high heat, its nature is to shrink a little bit under there. Not drastically, but enough to make something not line up correctly. And then I can go ahead and place in my fashion film. And then I'll do this for the full application. So while I'm doing this for the full application, the glitter flake will get its full application, then we won't have to do another step. So fashion film, 15 seconds at 320 degrees. Fashion film and glitter flake apply at the same temperature, so they're a great mixed media application to pair together. And my fashion film is a hot peel, so I can go ahead and peel that back. And then we have our completed pillow cover. So the next step would obviously be to buy a pillow to stick in there, and then it would be available to your customer. This was another wholesale boutique purchase, but before we go ahead to how much it costs to produce and the profit of it, I want to show you how you can increase the profit, okay? So I chose this design because I wanted it to match this blanket. You may not be able to see it, but there's some teal in here and some hot pink, so I want these to be able to be paired together. Now if I wanted to heat apply this, it would be very hard. So this is a polyester fiber that could scorch underneath the heat press. If I want to apply this, I want to use a very low temp heat transfer material that's going to hold on there, okay, and not scorch the garment. So if you're looking for a low temp material, that would be Premium Plus or even a low temp like Plastisol ink transfer. Okay, let's go ahead and check out our cost to produce for the pillow cover. We can go ahead and bring that up. So my item cost us $8 and my fashion film was 91 cents. My glitter flake was $1.49. So my labor and overhead is $1.80, and that labor and overhead is a little more expensive than any of the others you've seen, and that's because we are applying 2 different heat transfer vinyls, okay? So you have to take that into account. And also my dimensions of my design are a little larger, so my labor and overhead is going to take that into account as well. My total cost to produce is $12.20, and a personalized item like this can be sold for $30. So my profit is $17.80. All right, and that wraps up today's class and definitely brings in some new ideas. Before we go ahead and close everything up, I'm going to go ahead and answer any questions that may have came in through Facebook or GoToWebinar.
Yes, we have people who are wondering if you would review where you sourced each of the products from.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we started off with the canvas. This was sourced from Hobby Lobby. Our next was the pin board. This was also sourced from Hobby Lobby. We're seeing a trend here. We have a Hobby Lobby very close by, and I love going there. All right, this pillowcase was purchased from Wholesale Boutique. They are a wholesaler, and you can find them online, okay? The blanket that matches the pillow was also purchased from Wholesale Boutique as well. And this was purchased from Wholesale Boutique. So this is a cosmetic bag. And they have a bunch of different patterns in here that are very cute and perfect for personalizing. All right, these 2 items were another Wholesale Boutique purchase, and they were personalized with white fashion film. Okay, my placemat was purchased from Hobby Lobby as well. The wristlet that we heat printed with the neon fashion film earlier was also a Hobby Lobby purchase, as well as the signature picture frame, which comes in a variety of different sizes depending on the size of wedding that you want to make those for. All right, and we also have, sorry, some Facebook questions coming in. At what price is the machine transfer? Okay, so your transfers are going to differ based on the type of transfer that you're ordering and also the dimension. So if you want to custom order CAD cut materials or designs, you're going to go ahead and visit the Stahls website online. Or if you have a vinyl cutter and you have the ability to cut these at home, you can purchase these in rolls as well. And those vary based on the size and the length and width of the roll, okay? We also have another question. Where did you get the products you are personalizing? So we went ahead and did that already. And how do you set your selling price? Okay, so for my selling price, I do a little bit of research. I want to see what other people are selling at. Another thing, if you are aware of who your local competitors are, you might want to price a little lower than what they're selling at. So it's all based off of your business and how you choose to run it. So if you want to beat a competitor, you might want to knock the price down a little bit, or maybe pair something with it at a better price so that you can beat the competitors. You know your customers better than anyone. You know what they're willing to pay for a certain item, so you know what you should price it at. Based off of the selling price that I shared with you guys today, those are the common prices that I'm seeing online. So Etsy shops are selling these items at prices like that, and also some other e-commerce sites online. All right, we have some other questions on GoToWebinar.
Yes, they're wanting to know, how are you figuring your labor and overhead costs? That's coming in on both Facebook and on our GoTo.
Okay, so the labor and overhead costs are coming in at 10% of my labor, which would be the weeding, the vinyl cutting, the heat pressing, and also where you're running your business, okay? So you know where you're running your business, you know what all goes into it. And if you want something that's going to make it very easy for you to calculate all that, Stahls TV offers a Stahls Heat Transfer Vinyl Cost Calculator. So that will calculate all your labor and overhead. All you have to do is fill out the information on the percentage in which you want your labor and overhead to be. Whenever you are pricing your items, always be sure to include that. You don't make this stuff for free, so you want to make sure that you are paying yourself for the work that you did. Okay, so be sure to visit stahlstv.com for that cost calculator, and that will be able to help you calculate your labor and overhead for each piece that you make. Okay.
Okay, also, are all of the materials that you used for your decorating process today, are they all the same ones that Stahls sells for decorating t-shirts, and are they able to be used in your Cricut machine?
Okay. Yes, these are all able to be used in the Cricut machine. We actually just got one here in the office that I'm very anxious to get started with. We do have some customers that are using these exact materials with their Cricut already. So fashion film and glitter flake and adhesive for the foil are all able to cut on your Cricut. These were all purchased from Stahls and are the same materials that you can apply to t-shirts. Every item that we apply today is fabric based. So anything that has a fabric base that is like cotton, polyester, or any blend of that type, these transfers or these heat transfer vinyls can apply to. Okay.
Also, on the custom cosmetic bag, is there a, can you do that on a larger size bag, say an overnight bag as well?
Yeah, you can do it on any size that you choose. It's all up to what you're willing to create in your artwork designer and what you're willing to press. So if your heat press is a little bit smaller, maybe it's a 15 by 15 press, you might want to keep the dimensions in there just to make it a little easier on you for heat printing, but you can go as large as you want for heat application. So if you wanted to do an overnight bag and you wanted to personalize that, go for it. The only limitation is your imagination. So any item that you want to heat apply, this stuff can apply to.
A couple of people have commented on the fonts and the styles that you've created, really liking the fonts, and then also on the eyelashes that are on the bag. They're curious as to where you're getting your fonts and then your design elements from.
Okay, so I find a lot of my fonts I either purchase from people who create fonts that are being sold on Etsy, and a lot of my SVG files are actually being sold on Etsy as well. So the eyelashes were an SVG file. If you go to Etsy.com and type in the search bar SVG, there are a ton of files that will come up with different clip art images and stuff that you can use for your vinyl cutter. Another website that is great for finding free fonts is dafont.com. That is DAFONT.com. It's a very popular website. It has a ton of fonts on there, but be careful. Some of them are for personal use only. You don't want to resell those if the creator of the font isn't okay with it.
Sorry. Our final question that's here is they're curious because with the canvas that you got from Hobby Lobby, is it treated in any way that you have to do anything before you apply the HTV to it?
That's a good question. To my knowledge, it's not treated with anything. That's something that you want to be careful about when you're purchasing. This canvas came with a label on it that has everything that it was made of. It didn't say it was treated with anything, so I find it okay to apply the heat transfer vinyl to. But if you're purchasing from somewhere else, always be sure to double check on that, because you will have to do a preheat before you apply the heat transfer vinyl to it, or else it'll just fall off, okay? All right, so looks like we answered all our questions. If we didn't get a chance to answer yours, we certainly will after the class. Before I wrap this up, I want to let you know about a class that we're doing next week on May 18th at 2 p.m. with Jimmy Palmer. He's going to be teaching you how to sell on Etsy. So creating a shop on Etsy and how to get that out to different markets and niches that you want to sell to. I'm Jenna with Stahls TV, and thanks so much for joining me today.